Welcome to the Earth Games board game competition. In this week's webinar, we're going to be exploring board game playing pieces or counters. You might be designing a board game for our competition. So here are some easy steps to design and make your own playing pieces for your game.
Hello, I'm Emily.
And I'm Ray.
And we're going to take you through making your board game playing pieces for the Earth Games UK board game competition. So you might have already started designing your board game and you might be wondering how to design or make playing pieces or counters. So Rue and I are going to take you through some easy steps today.
First of all, you need to register for the competition. Register online at www.earthgames.uk and you'll be able to access lots of creative resources and enter the competition. So first of all, what are playing pieces? Why would you need to develop your own playing pieces for your board game? For some board games, playing pieces could be really simple, and for others, having a character would be really great for your board game. Let's have a look at some examples from other games. So on this screen you can see some really simple little green and yellow counters, and they're quite common. You probably have board games at home with those little counters in. And then the other picture shows some slightly more complicated ones. So there's some plastic moulded figures at the top, which are very complex. One looks like a dragon. Then there's some little discs with numbers on, so they're quite simple. And then finally at the top, on the other side, we've got some little people, some houses, dogs, cars, all sorts of different colours and shapes. So you can see that counters can be really, really individual and quite different. Let's remind ourselves of the insects that you can choose from for the Earth Games UK competition. First of all, we've got the dung beetle, then the hoverfly, and last of all, the mayfly. You can look up a bit more about each of these insects on the Earth Games UK website, or have a look at an encyclopedia at home, or even see if you can see any outside, go for a walk, or see if you can find any in your garden. A good starting point is to draw or sketch the insects using some images that you could have printed off or from a book. And if you get a bit stuck with this, or if you're not very confident, you can download some of our colouring in sheets from the Earth Games UK website, and you can even trace some of those. Drawing your insects can really help you understand their shape and help you learn a little bit more about the bodies and also about their behaviour. So look at the shape of the body of your insect. How many different sections or segments are there? How many legs has your insect got? Probably 6. How many wings has it got? And have a look at the shape of the eyes as well. So now you might want to turn your insect drawings into cartoon insects. So some insects don't look that friendly, and maybe if you want to make a board game with counters, your counters might want to make them look a little bit more like fun or friendly cartoon insects. So drawing cartoon insects, you can change your drawings into cartoons by making a few simple changes. You can see some examples of cartoon insects on this screen. So there's some mayflies, there's a hoverfly with a big googly eye, there's a very friendly looking dung beetle rolling a big ball of dung, and then there's 2 black and white drawings of the top one is a hoverfly and the bottom one is a very simple dung beetle. So you can see that when you're drawing a cartoon insect, certain bits of your insect can be simplified and maybe made a little bit less realistic, but that's fine. So you can find lots of useful how-to instructions on the Earth Game website. This slide just shows you a very simple progression from starting with a drawing of a dung beetle, having a look at the overall shape of the body, which is like an oval or an egg shape, then adding the shape of the head, and then starting to add in some of the details. So you can see how you could start with a quite complicated insect and start to simplify it down into some of its basic shapes or forms. Once you're quite confident drawing your insects, or you have a fairly good idea of what your insects look like, maybe you've chosen one that you really love, whose behaviour inspires you in some way, then maybe you can move on to making your playing pieces. So Rue and I will take you through making some playing pieces in a bit more detail.
So Rue and I have spent a lot of time making lots of different examples of board game playing pieces using all sorts of different materials, and we're going to take you through each of them. And after this video, we're going to show you in a bit more depth how to make each of these different playing pieces. So Rue, what's first up? What have we got? We've got toilet roll.
Yes.
Cut off bits of toilet roll. And we thought this would be a really easy way to make your paper drawings stand up. So we've slotted the drawings in and decorated the bottom of the toilet roll. So that's using something you might have around your house, something quite simple. Okay, what's the next one, Rue?
These are
So those, what are these at the bottom?
paper clips.
Yeah, so we've used these sort of bulldog clips and clip them around the drawings, and then they stand up and they make really nice playing pieces. You can move them around your board. Okay, what's next?
So then we made Fimo.
Yeah, so we made Fimo hoverflies. So we've got 2 adult hoverflies, and we've got 2 of the hoverfly larvae, which are like little caterpillar type things. So those are the Fimo ones. We'll make those walk over there. What's next? We've got clay models. Can you show us the first big one? That's it. So that's
A dung beetle.
yeah, and it's sitting on top of its ball of dung, which is actually a ball of clay. Okay, that's quite a big, heavy playing piece, but it feels really nice to play with. Who's this coming along?
This is another dung beetle.
Yeah.
A scarab beetle.
A scarab beetle, exactly. So it's made to look a little bit like an Egyptian scarab beetle. It's very nice pink sparkly paint, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. That's a very simple one. And what have we got next?
We have got a hoverfly.
Lovely. With its flapping wings.
Yes, that's paper.
They're fluttering in the breeze at the moment, aren't they?
Yes.
And they're made with graph paper, aren't they?
Mm.
So that's just clay. Can flutter along. Now the next ones are using pebbles. Can you shuffle those ones in? So we've got a hoverfly made out of a stone with some googly eyes to make it look very friendly. And then this is a really little tiny playing piece. So that would make a really nice small counter. And it's got a very detailed little painting of a hoverfly in it, quite small. Okay, that's using a really smooth pebble from the beach. And last of all, another smooth pebble from the beach. There's a very funny looking dung beetle. Okay, now we've got some funny looking ones. What's next, Rue?
These are
That's a dung beetle, isn't it?
yes.
So we've got a dung beetle, which is just a drawing of a dung beetle flat. And then this is a type of nut that we found. And we just used the shell and stuck it down. You might have noticed that we haven't got many mayflies. I think these 2 are mayflies. Mayflies are so long and thin, with so many long thin legs and the tail and the wings, that they're actually quite difficult to make out of anything other than paper. But the next one we did make, it looks a bit strange. It's a pebble painted like a mayfly with a long tail, and the long tail is made from these I think they're fir tree spikes. That makes a really nice mayfly tail, and then it's got some bubble wrap for the wings. That looks a bit strange, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think a better mayfly was our Lego ones, so that's our last type of playing piece that we did. and you had a lot of fun with the Lego. So that one's the mayfly. And then we've got the hoverfly hovering in. And last of all, here comes the little dung beetle. And those are some of our playing pieces. So the next stage, we'll take you through how you can make each of these in a little bit more detail and give you some other ideas as well.
First of all, you could ask yourself, what will you make your playing pieces from? Can you use what you find around your house? So have a look around you. You've probably got some sort of basic arts materials around the house. You could use paper, card, pens and pencils. Some of you might have clay as well, or even Fimo, which is a type of colourful polymer clay that you put in the oven and bake. Other things that you might find useful are paper clips, bulldog clips. You could make some salt dough, and you can look online for recipes for salt dough. You could have a look in your recycling box. So you could maybe use plastic bottles or bottle lids. And you could also go for a walk, pick up some twigs, sticks, leaves, and also use fabric, or things like pipe cleaners could be really useful as well. So idea number one, using your drawings. So if you have some drawings, let's see how you can make them into playing pieces. So first of all, you could cut out your drawings and use a paper clip to make them stand up. The paper clips that you can see in these pictures are like little mini bulldog clips, and they work really well. You can clip the base of your insect drawing into it and then fold the little wings up, and it makes a really simple stand for a playing piece for your game. Alternatively, and if you don't have any of those clips at home, most people will have some old toilet roll tubes in their recycling. If you cut a little section from one of those and then cut 2 slots, one in either side going down, you can just slot your drawing into that. And that makes, again, a really nice playing piece. They're quite large, so your board game squares or places where your playing pieces go will also have to be quite large. Idea number 2, using packaging from your recycling. Now, if you're going to use anything from your recycling bin, be careful that there are no sharp edges, so don't use anything that's made of metal. And also make sure that everything's clean and washed, so you might have to get an adult to give you a hand with that. These are some really fun examples of bottle top beetles. Now these aren't dung beetles, they look more like ladybirds, but you could easily imagine how you could get a bottle top from a drinks bottle and paint it like a dung beetle, and maybe add some of the little googly eyes as well. And they make perfect little game counters for your board game. Rue and I found some wonderful milk bottle bugs on the internet. There's some more information about these on the Earth Games UK website. These ones are from the Festival of Making website, and you can find links on the Earth Games website. So these are using great big milk bottles, cutting them up and colouring them in with pens and using paint as well. Now, these would be quite large, but we thought they're so beautiful and so colourful that they were really inspiring. We hope they inspire you too. Idea number 3, painting pebbles and stones. When we were looking at the shape of a dung beetle, one of the first things that I thought of to use as a playing counter was a pebble. And we collect the odd pebble when we go to the beach, and we have some lovely smooth stones around the house and in the garden. So we collected a few of those. And we painted a couple of stones, one of them as a hoverfly and one of them as a dung beetle. And now the one you see in the middle is just a tiny little pebble, and it's got a very small spot of white on it, and we painted very carefully painted a little tiny hoverfly in the middle, and that would make a really ideal size counter or playing piece for your board game. Idea number 4 is modelling with clay. So if you're lucky enough to have some clay at home, then great. If not, you can order air drying clay or go to your nearest art shop or hobby or craft shop and buy some modelling clay. This is our step-by-step guide to making a clay hoverfly. So you can see that we've separated the body into individual sections to make it really simple. So a slightly larger sort of tail area, and then the thorax, which is the round ball in the middle, and then two balls which make up the head or eyes. When they're squished together and with a few lines drawn onto them, they make quite a nice simple little hoverfly. Now obviously the wings would be really, really difficult to make in clay. You could make the wings out of clay, but they'd be very fragile. So we used some tracing paper and just cut out a wing shape and stuck it in. And once it was dry, we painted it using acrylic paints. We also made some clay dung beetles using the same clay. We made one and then we painted it lots of different colours, so you could imagine how you could have a whole set of little dung beetles, and each player could have a different colour. So one player could be red, one player could be yellow. We also used some sparkly and glittery paint for these as well. These were inspired by Egyptian scarab beetle amulets, which are like little charms or objects that would be held. And they don't have any sticky out bits. Their legs and the wings are kind of part of the ball shape. So with no delicate legs or wings, then there's nothing that can break off. And it means that they're really easy to hold and to play with your board game. Idea number 5, combining materials. So you don't have to use just one material, you can combine all sorts of different materials and make your playing piece. For this dung beetle playing piece, we used one of our dung beetle drawings, and then we rolled a ball of clay and cut a slit in it with just a normal knife, and then stuck the beetle's leg in it. So it's like the beetle is climbing over its dung ball. And this makes a really nice, quite heavy playing piece. So idea number 6, modelling with Fimo. You might have used Fimo. There are lots of different types of polymer clay, but Fimo is probably the most commonly known. And it comes in so many lovely different colours. So you don't have to paint it. You just knead the colours together and you can mix the different colours to make even more shades. We made some Fimo hoverflies and hoverfly larvae, and you can see on this page some of Rue's hoverflies. You can see on the wings we've marbled blue and white together. So we've kneaded a little bit of blue and a little bit of white and made a kind of marbling colour. And we did the same with the larvae, which are green and white, and that makes them just look a little bit more unusual. Now, the wings would have been quite fragile if we'd had them sticking right out, so we made them stick against the body, and that just makes them a little bit more durable. So when you're playing a board game, you should think a little bit about how strong your playing pieces are as well. Using natural materials. One of the first things that Rue and I thought of doing was making an insect out of some seed heads. Now we've got a birch tree in our garden and it was dangling all of these springtime lamb's tails, we call them. They're the seed heads and they're very long seeds. You can see some of them on this page. And we thought they looked a little bit like mayfly bodies. So we used some leaf skeletons that we found in the garden and some other leaves and some little twigs, and we stuck them together using a really strong glue and tried to make a playing piece out of these natural materials. So you can see there's our mayfly. It wasn't very long lasting, it wasn't very durable or strong, but it did look really lovely. Now you probably wouldn't be able to play many games with this before it would break, but it's a nice idea. And this piece is a little bit stronger. This is a little dung beetle made from a paper cutout with a drawing on it. And then we found a little nut shell that was flat and we stuck it on top. And that makes a really nice, small and quite strong playing piece. One of the other things we had a lot of fun with was using Lego to make playing pieces. Rue is a really big Lego fan. He's got loads of Lego. So if you also love Lego or other kind of construction brick games, then have a think about how you could make playing pieces out of Lego. One of the challenges was making them small enough to fit on a board game. So when you start building with Lego, we found that our insects got really big, and then we had to really work hard to make them small enough for our board game. This is a little video showing some of our Lego playing pieces. We've got a dung beetle at the bottom and a hoverfly and mayfly at the top. And you can see just how tiny they are. There's more details for those on the Earth Games website on Rue and my blog, and it shows a little bit more of the detail of how we made them. So, questions to ask yourself. So what is the character of your insect playing piece? Are you going to design a friendly insect or a scary insect? Is your insect going to be a predator? Is it going to hunt other insects or other creatures? Or is it doing a helpful job like pollinating flowers? So maybe you can think whether you want your insects to be friendly or scary. And then you can design your playing pieces around that. So you could give your scary insects a cross or angry looking face, maybe. Think of how your playing pieces are going to be used. Do they need to slot into something on your board? Or do they need to stick to something, maybe using blue tack or Velcro? Maybe they need to be really strong so they can be thrown like a dice. Maybe you need to make lots of playing pieces to make a whole set. So make sure you make them quite simple and quick and easy to make. Are your playing pieces going to be really colourful, like the mayfly at the top here? You don't have to keep the colours and the shapes of your insects to be exactly realistic. You can have a little bit of what we call artistic license. So things don't have to look exactly as they would in the wild. Or maybe your playing pieces are going to be black and white, to match a black and white playing board. It's up to you. Are your playing pieces going to be like cartoons with big googly eyes and big smiles? Or are they going to be really lifelike? So are you going to practice drawing or making them to look very much like the actual insect? And now, once you've started making your playing pieces, it's a really good time to try playing a game and use them. It's really fun to do this, and it will show whether they work well as playing pieces or not. What worked well and what didn't work well? Did your playing pieces fit the board? Did you have enough playing pieces? Did bits break off or not work like they imagined they would? And what things would you like to change? So now's a good time to make all the changes you want to your playing pieces. You might want to make more, you might want to repaint your playing pieces, or just completely rebuild them. Once you finish your playing pieces and your board game, it's time to enter our competition. So first of all, take loads of photos of all the parts of your board game, including all of the individual angles, all the elements, any cards, and of course, all of your lovely playing pieces. And now you can submit all your photos of your finished game, and don't forget your game rules and strategy on the Earth Games website, which is www.earthgames.uk. And we are really looking forward to seeing your designs, so good luck!